We're breathing. This is a song that I heard that was more beautiful than any song I've ever wrote in my life.
That's the Muslim call to prayer.
The Muslim call to prayer, you know.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, at some point you find yourself trying to shop between Dhuhr and Asr. Everyone's taking the sun in that. You know, I come from New York City. Everything's 24 hours. I've never seen anybody shut down in midday. You know what I'm saying? And all this is for the sake of Allah. All this is for the sake of God. And it's like, this was so consistent. You know, every place I went, I just seen this whole consistent practice of worshiping the one true God. And this was something that I was looking for. This is something I wanted to be a part of, because there's a lot of inconsistency the way people practice and worship, you know what I'm saying, God. And what I saw in the Muslim was very consistent. And I just couldn't, you know, I couldn't tear myself away from it. After a while, I started to see and study, ask questions. I would go to certain bookstores, buy books, and just found myself getting more and more drawn to trying to learn this culture, learn this lifestyle, and learn this religion. So while I was in the UAE, I found myself, you know, pretty much, you know, at the last leg of this whole party thing. And, you know, I actually seen the sunrise while I was in Abu Dhabi, and I was staying at the Emirates Palace. And I watched the sunrise, and I'm looking at the Arabian Sea, and I'm just saying to myself, like, this is just beautiful, man. This is just beautiful. And it's like all the misconceptions that you see in the media about the Muslim, you know, all of these things were quickly getting dispelled, you know. And I start seeing, like, maybe the media is only, you know, establishing 3% of Islam. Because everywhere I'm going, I'm seeing just the exact opposite. I'm seeing streets you can eat off. I'm seeing people whose hospitality is just amazing. Everywhere you go, someone's offering you tea. Someone's offering you dates. Someone's offering you help. You know, people that are very less fortunate than the people I used to hang with. I'm hanging with multimillionaires. They got yachts, you know what I'm saying, mansions, penthouses, and things of this nature. And it's hard to even extract a cold soda from them. You know, and then to be around people who really didn't have much, were always willing to give, you know, and want nothing in return, you know, because they feel that their blessings come from Allah. And that's a concept that I could incorporate in my life, because I was a giving person. I was a person that overasserted myself for the sake of success, for the sake of bringing success to other people, for the sake of helping other people find success. But the benefit at the time, I was looking for the return to come from the people I was helping. But then I learned that that's not where I'm supposed to be looking. I'm supposed to seek refuge in the one that created me. So I found myself, you know, being engulfed by this concept and just being overwhelmed and just, man, blown away. And I say, you know, I want to be a Muslim.
Now, did you have any exposure to any other religions, anything else that you looked into? Can you talk about this briefly?
Well, I was born in a Christian household. You know, my grandmother, she sung in the United Negro College Fund Choir for about 40 years. I used to spend maybe 6-7 days a week in the church. And, you know, I was heavily active in, you know, in Christian activity, you know, saying Bible studies. I played the piano. I played the bells. I was an usher. I did everything that you could possibly do in the infrastructure of, you know, the Baptist church. And, you know, I just started to notice a lot of, you know, inconsistencies, you know, people who say they're of God doing things that are not of God. And it's not that, you know, because even in Islam, you're not supposed to judge the Muslim, you know, judge Islam by the Muslim.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I was judging the Christian by, you know, but the reality of it was so repetitive, the inconsistencies and how things were practiced and how things were done. And I really started to ask questions, you know, because you have people that, you know, believe that Jesus is God. And I used to ask myself as a child, how is Jesus God if he prays? Who's he praying to? And it's just certain little questions that I wanted answers for that I couldn't find within the infrastructure.
It's a good question. Who was he praying to? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Like these are like common sense questions. These are not something that really take rocket science.
Yeah.
And, you know, and even like with Adam and Eve, I'm like, how are we held accountable for the sins of two, like the first, you know, man and woman created? Like, how am I, like, why am I to blame? I never met Adam. I never met Eve. Why would I be held accountable? That would make God unjust. You know, when we know that God is so merciful and God is the most just. So these are just little questions that I kept, you know, wanting answers for, and I couldn't find it within the infrastructure. It was always like a brush off, a shutdown, and it's like, you know, if I can't find the answers, you know, in the faith that I'm practicing, maybe I need to outsource. you know, and I found myself searching, not really looking for Islam, but you know, I love my family, you know, they still, you know, have, you know, they still definitely practice Christian faith, and it hasn't changed my relationship with none of the people that I love. But the reality is I found something for me. And the piece that I found, I try to share. You know, I'm very patient with the people I love. And, you know, Islam is not something that you force upon somebody, because it wasn't forced on me. I was fortunate to find Islam without no dawah. No one sat down and talked to me about Islam. So I know that I was guided here purely by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will. And I found Islam, you know, and, you know, coming out of the Christian life was definitely a big transition. But the reality of it is, it wasn't that much of a transition, because there are a lot of things that will lead you to an understanding of Islam, and that Islam clarifying a lot of things that I needed to know about Christianity. So, you know, in a nutshell, you just, you know, you go where it gives you more. And I found more in Islam.
You found all the rational, logical evidence. Everything, your questions were answered, clear proofs.
Clear.
No ambiguity. Everything is straightforward.
Everything clear.
What your purpose of life is.
Clear.
What happens when you die.
Clear.
Where you're going.
Clear.
Everything is lucid.
Check.
Check.
You know what I'm saying?
Tell us now. People want to know, like, okay, you're hanging out with P. Diddy and some of the other rappers. Party is over. Lights are on. Did you ever have one of these conversations like, you know what? This is getting played out, man.
Very
We've
much
had
so.
everything.
Very much so.
Talk to us.
Very much so. I would say, you know, you find yourself, in, like, in my case, you know, being that I targeted the females as an audience. And at the time, you know, I have a lot of women in my family, so I have a lot of respect for women. So the most righteous effort that I found myself trying to achieve was not glorifying the harsh realities that, you know, plagued me in my neighborhood. I'm born and raised in Harlem, and it's like, I didn't elaborate on those things. I chose to exercise a more brighter side of myself, and that was like, you know, talking about things that revolve around relationships with females and basically the desires of most men at the time when I was in my state of ignorance, you know, trying to find a girl, trying to find, you know, companionship and things of this nature, without the whole slander and vulgar stuff that, you know, are drawn towards women. So at the time, that was like my most righteous attempt. But what happened is, I started to get women that would submit to my success. And after a while, I found myself losing the respect that I have for all the women in my life and all the women in my family, based on the way how women would submit themselves. You know, this is not, you know, someone is saying you need to talk to my father first or come meet the family. These are women that are just skipping A, B, and going straight to C. So I'm like, wow. Is this what comes with this? Because it was a time I was really searching for a girl. I really wanted companionship. And what I found was just an obsession with my success.
Is that where the song came in, I Need a Girl?
Well, actually, it stemmed from, you know what I'm saying, just having that experience of searching for a girl. But at the time, Puff had a serious breakup with Jennifer Lopez. And it all just kind of tied in. It was something that was, you know, happening in his life currently, and something that happened in my life before. We put our heads together and we came up with the concept of, let's just flat out get it off our chest. We need girls.
Now you can sing something like, possibly, I Need a Wife. You know, for the brothers.
Exactly.